Alright, so this is going to be part 3 to what if Asta had dark magic. So with that being said, let's just roll the intro.
The bad bitch like she average. I'm a savage, little hoe, what you want do? I'm about cash if the round fast. I'ma get that little nigga by any means.
Alright, before I get this what if started, I'd like to say that I am sick, so I might sound a little bit different. But also, tell me what, which of my Black Clover what ifs you want another part of, because I'm planning to do a few Black Clover what ifs this week, like continuing some of the ones I already have going on, or you guys could ask me to make a new one. So yeah, so with Sunshine Asta, basically I really haven't been watching the anime because I just have a lot of things to do, so I'm not gonna be able to really do that one just yet, the next part for that series. So just keep that in mind. So when you're choosing what parts you want me to do for the other Astas. So yeah, and down below, tell me what you think about the new Asta designs, or the redesigns, I guess, for the time skip. But just try not to spoil anything for the for people, because not everyone reads the manga. And me mentioning that there's a time skip isn't really much of a spoiler, since there's always going to be a time skip in shonen mangas. So yeah, just tell me what you think about the designs in the comments down below if you've seen them already. So yeah, so last time we just ended off with the with basically the attack on Saucy Village. So yeah, this one we're going over the dungeon. So yeah, so our story would start off with the Black Bulls basically having breakfast, and this is when Yami would come through and explain to Asta, Noel, and Luck that they're going on a mission to go to this dungeon, because the Wizard King ordered it, and they want them specifically to go and do it, and they want to get all the rare items that are in the dungeon before the the Diamond Kingdom gets it, I believe. So yeah, so they would ask Federal to get them as close as they could to the dungeon, and this is where he would tell them that, well, he can't get them directly there, he could get there as close as they can, since he hasn't really been there. So this is what would happen. They would go to the portal and they would go into the dungeon, with Luck leading the way, since he has the highest magic sensing out of the three. So they would eventually get to that brick in the wall, and they would find the opening to the dungeon, which would lead them into a bigger room. There they would find different sorts of traps, which Luck would activate purely for his own entertainment. So this would give Asta the idea of being cautious with the traps, since he doesn't know what's going to be in them. So as this is happening, Luck would notice that there would be higher levels of magic somewhere, and this is where he would run off by himself to go and find it. So Noel and Asta would be kind of be without any guide, I guess, until Nero would show them the way, which would lead them to the point where they would go and travel basically throughout the dungeon, and they would set off a giant trap. This would be the plant monster, where Asta would he would use his kind of his armor like he did before. And the way I guess some people got confused on how I explained the kind of forging process for the armor, and I'll explain a little bit how it works in my mind, I guess. So Asta would have to have the raw materials for it, and he would put that in his forge, and the armor that would come out would it'd be a vessel for magic, so people could put their own magic into it, right? And then he would give it to someone, and that person could put it in their grimoire and make it part of their kind of magic themselves. So that's why Magna's armor in the previous part had more than one type of magic. that being fire, spatial, and dark, since Asta has dark and Finral has spatial, which he would help with that. So yeah, and that's really how it works. So Asta would, I think he would go for his damage. So his damage suit, and basically he would take out his rifle, and since he was in his damage kind of armor, he'd be able to take out the kind of Venus flytrap kind of trap. So after that, he would ask Noelle if she was okay. She would kind of be blushing since it was Asta that saved her, and she would be like, I'm fine. And this is when this is when the Golden Dawn would show up, being Yuno, Mimosa, and Klaus. Klaus would be the first one to speak and say, what are Black Bulls doing here? And where's your third party member? Or yeah. And basically, he would also say that, oh, did he like abandon you? And this is when Asta would be like, no, he just kind of went on his own. And this is when Klaus would be like, as expected of a Black Bull abandoning his own teammates, why are you here anyways? And this is when Asta would kind of get mad and be like, well, the Wizard King himself told us to be here. And this is when Klaus would be like, I highly doubt that. And this was when Asta would be like, yeah, it's true, and at this point, this is when Noelle and Mimosa would get, they would do their introductions to themselves, or they would catch up on, lost time that they had before. So as this is happening, I think Asta would get to the point where he's angry enough to kind of brag about how he got a star for his first mission, and Klaus would accuse him of lying, which he would say, no, I'm not, I'm telling the truth. And he would start to kind of make fun of Klaus for the fact that he has glasses by calling him Four Eyes. After this, Klaus, declares the challenge of a race to get to the vault first. Asta would accept it, and what would happen next is that Klaus would ride on a kind of wind, that wind kind of transportation spell that Yuno made, and they would go and find the dungeon vault, since Mimosa has that kind of map magic with her like plant. So again, Asta and Noelle would be kind of lost and not know where to go. But this is when Nero would point them in the right direction again, and they would follow Nero. Halfway through, they would feel this kind of weird magical kind of sensing, and they would know that Luck would be in trouble, since he'd be fighting the kind of one of the 8 shining generals, I believe they're called, from the Diamond Kingdom. So they would go in that direction to go and find Luck, since he is part of the Black Bulls and they don't want anything bad to happen to him. So when they get there, Luck would be kind of he would be pulling out all the ropes or all the tricks just to try to beat this smoke mage. And Asta would jump in between and try to get him or hit the mage as well, while Luck would basically say, what are you doing? Get out of the way. I don't need your help. I need to win on my own. But Asta would then say that, you're going to do things your way, while I'm going to do things my way and help my friends. So as this is going on, Luck has a kind of epiphany, I guess, and he decides that it's best to fight with your friends, since he's always been alone most of his life, and what his mother taught him wasn't necessarily right about how you always should win and things like that. So Luck does agree to fight as with Asta, and this is when the smoke mage sees that it's going to be bad for him, so he covers the entire area with smoke and makes it harder for everyone to find him, as well as making it easier for him to travel. At this point, Asta would tell Luck that he has a plan, and he would tell him to kind of shoot his lightning balls in a certain direction, so they would basically force the mage to move him to a certain spot. And this is when Asta, after doing that, would give he would basically give Luck his rifle, and he would have Noelle basically shoot him with her kind of water ball, and this would blast him and propel him forward. And as this is happening, he would tell Luck to shoot. This would cause the mage to kind of flinch, and the reason why it still shoots is because Luck is putting his own magic into it, and the stuff that Asta creates is more like magical items and more magical items than actual spells, I guess. And this is when Asta would hit the mage from behind using his own katana that he would have made based off of how Yami's was and how he was able to improve onto it. So he would have made his own replica of it, and he would strike the mage in the back, causing him to crash into the wall and knocking him out. This is when Asta and the rest of the group would go and find the vault. At this point, this is where the other group, the Golden Dawn, is actually fighting against Mars and losing pretty badly. Mimosa wouldn't be in the fight because she would still get injured by Mars, and what would happen is that Klaus would be nearly taken out of the fight, but he would be saved by Yuno, who would be helping. And as you know, they're about to get overwhelmed, this is when Asta and the rest of the Black Bulls would come, that being Noelle and Luck. So they would basically go in front of the Golden Dawn, and this is when Asta would give his rifle to that of, I think, Noelle in this case, since Luck's magic would be kind of drained. So because the rifle is already a tool by itself, and there's no really way to change the projectile or change the trajectory of the projectile, since it's being shot out like a bullet, it would go straight. So it'd be very easy for Noelle to use, since all she would do is put her magic in something, and then the tool itself would do all the work with the projectile, or the trajectory, I guess. So it's a very useful tool for her for aiming her magic. So he would give her the rifle to kind of cover him, as he is using his sword to basically cut down rows of those mineral kind of clones. So as this is getting closer and closer to the real Mars, this is when Mars would use this kind of that giant kind of mineral suit, and he would basically call Asta weak and say that he's made to destroy the weak, right? And Asta would still say the same thing that he would say normally about him being the pebble that breaks the diamond, causing as he rushes towards Mars. At the same time, Noelle would shoot Mars, causing his armor to kind of crack a bit, giving Asta the best opportunity to strike, and basically knocking him across the kind of the floor a bit, or maybe a few feet. And this impact would have knocked out Mars. And this is when Klaus would get up and basically use his binding spell to kind of bind him, right? And he would take his grimoire as well, so he wouldn't be able to use any spells. So after that was done, they would have to have the issue of trying to open the vault door, which they would have no idea of doing, right? So Klaus is just looking at the door, wondering what he could do to open it, and Asta says he has an idea. Klaus is somewhat hesitant to trust him, since he is a peasant, right? But he agrees, since he was the one who saved them. So Asta basically switches to his armor suit, or his damage suit, and he tells everyone to basically put their magic into the gun or the rifle so that he could overcharge it. So everyone there, including Yuna, would put their magic into the gun, and this is when Asta would fire it, and this would shoot out a very powerful beam going straight through the vault door, and this would actually break the gun in the process. Not completely, probably only melting the front parts, and this would cause Asta to have to fix it later. It only was a little bit of small damage in the process, but it was damage nonetheless. After this was done, this is when they would all rush in, since the vault was open, and they would look at all the different gadgets there. Yuno would still get the wind spirits, and a lot of you guys want Asta to also get a spirit, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give him a dark spirit. So I don't know how it would look like. There are different ideas you guys can give me down below. And yeah, so after a while, they would see, they would look at all the different kind of relics there, and eventually this is when Mars would get back up from being bind for so long, and he would use his flame recovery magic on himself so that he could still stay conscious. And yeah, so this is when he would strike Noelle, putting her in a very bad position, basically making her on death's door, basically just how it was in the anime. And as it's going down, this is when Asta would get very angry and rush towards Mars, but Mars would be ready for him since he would be still in the same suit, and he would basically knock him through a wall, just how it was in the anime. Asta would get back up he would take out his sword, his kind of katana, and basically rush towards Mars again, and Mars would try to shoot him with a bunch of his kind of mineral kind of daggers, and Asta would be able to kind of deflect him with the sword. Eventually, the swords would be not enough, and Mars would realize this, and this is where he would use that kind of giant one that he uses in the anime. And everyone's freaking out since it doesn't look like Asta would be able to dodge this. And this is when Yuno's kind of spirit would activate, causing him to pause time and breaking the sword in the process, giving Asta a perfect opportunity to strike him. And at the same time as this happening, Noelle would have enough faith in Asta. This would subconsciously give her magic to him, and he would be able to infuse his sword with the magic, since his like tools that he makes with his magic aren't necessarily spells, they're more like magical items or tools, just like I said before. So he'd be able to infuse, or he'd be able to use the magic with it, causing his slash to be more water based, and this would be able to kind of take out the flame spell that was healing him, causing Mars to be knocked out as well. And this is when the kind of dungeon was basically getting destroyed. So they would all go onto Yuno's kind of transportation magic, and they would try to get out. At first they would try to get Mars with them, but they would have no time to get it to him since the dungeon was getting destroyed, and they would get out pretty safely. Asta would not be as hurt as he was in the anime, but Noelle would still be getting healed since she was nearly killed. So everyone does get out pretty well. Asta is still injured, but not to the extent that he was in the anime, since he wasn't really, I think, stabbed. So yeah. So with that being said, this is going to be in the video. So yeah.